Semi-permanent application spray-on leave-on. Today we're going to talk to you about spraying our G610 water-based semi-permanent release agent. A spray-on leave-on application method is optimal for use on Class A mold surface. This method requires a release agent that is specifically formulated for a spray-on leave-on application. If applied correctly, the semi-permanent release agent will not streak and won't require as much time to apply as compared to a wipe-on, wipe-off application. A release agent formulated for spray applications requires a very specific spray gun. An HVLP spray gun with a 0.3mm to 0.5mm fluid nozzle is optimal. The HVLP spray gun should be used with a pressure pot, which provides greater flexibility when applying to areas of the mold that may not be flat. It is highly recommended to have an air adjustment valve attached to or incorporated in the spray gun. The objective in setting the spray gun up is to create the optimal delivery output from the pressure pot and the smallest particle size or droplet size of the release agent. Start with 10 psi of the pressure pot and turn off or close the atomization air of the gun. Pull the trigger and observe the amount of release agent coming through the fluid nozzle. The fluid stream should come out about 5 inches before arcing over. Adjust the fluid needle and/or pressure pot to achieve this. Once this step is complete, open the air adjustment valve on the gun and increase until a fine mist of the release agent is achieved. The gun will have a fan width adjustment control on it. Depending upon the mold geometry, the fan width can be set for the optimal width of the mold. When the gun and pressure pot are set up correctly, make a 12-inch test spray on a piece of cardboard. Adjust the fan width, fluid output, and atomization air accordingly. When applying to the mold, the optimal distance from the spray gun head to the mold is 9 to 12 inches. Keep the spray gun perpendicular to the mold surface and try not to arc your hand. As each mold has different geometry, some experimentation will be required to achieve an optimal application path. Apply the release agent to the entire mold with minimal overlap. A fine mist with just enough release agent should be applied, such that your fingers will barely wet if dragged across the surface. If a mistake was made and the release agent is over-applied, buff the affected area with a microfiber towel immediately while the surface is still wet. Respray the release agent on the area and then continue to the rest of the mold. If applied correctly and depending upon the ambient temperature, the solvent or water-based product should evaporate within a minute or two and cross-linking will occur shortly after. The surface should then be streak-free. To achieve optimal performance of the semi-permanent release agent, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions regarding the number of initial coats, cure times between coats, and the final cure of the last coat before sending the mold to production. So now we're going to go through some of the adjustments on the chutes, gun, and pressure pot that we have here. We have the pressure pot and spray gun here. We have the air adjustment valve on the pressure pot, and we have the flow rate and pattern adjustment valve here. So on the spray gun here, this is a chutes gun. We have a 0.5mm tip, which is typically optimal for spraying release agents. We have our fluid atomizer here on the side, and we have our fluid adjustment valve here on the back. Of course, you have your trigger, and again, we have our settings on the spray pot to dial in the appropriate spray pattern and air for the optimal release agent that we're spraying. All right, so what we're gonna do here, now that we have the gun and the pressure pot dialed in to what we think is the optimal amount and spray pattern of the release agent, we're gonna do a test spray here on a piece of cardboard. And again, this typically works well to make sure that you have everything dialed in before you go onto the mold. One issue that we typically see with release agents is that they're over applied when you spray them and you're just wasting material. So what we're gonna do here and what you'll notice on the cardboard is that you don't see much, and that's actually good. That means that you have a great atomization. You're kind of fogging the mold if this was a mold, and that's what you want to do. All right, so now we're gonna spray our mold. So what you want to do on larger molds is you want to adjust your spray pattern accordingly for a wider fan width. So what you'll notice here, again, a light fog over the entire mold. You want to go in a linear pattern and you want to try to overlap as minimal as you can. And what you're going to notice here when you run your fingers across this mold is you don't want it to drag out and be very wet. And as you can see here, we're not puddling up anything with our fingers, which means that we have the correct amount of release agent on this. You're going to let this dry, apply as many coats as the manufacturer's instructions, and you're ready to begin making parts. So what you'll notice here is we actually over applied a little bit. You can see when you run your fingers across this, it actually puddles up a little bit, and that's how you know you sprayed too much. In order to combat this, just take a microfiber towel while it's still wet and wipe that off, and we'll do it again. And as you can see there, we don't have any puddling, which indicates that we sprayed the proper amount of release agent. When finished spraying release agent or anything through the gun that is not water, you want to make sure that you clean the entire system well for your next usage. So what we'll do then is we'll flush the entire system with water. Another good thing to do is take your spray tip off and set it in some sort of solvent material until your next usage. That way it keeps everything clean and free of any clogs.